this evening we'll have, first of all, I think we have a quorum, everybody is called. Could you please read your card? You didn't get your card, you didn't see it?
Oh, you count one.
Oh, here comes.
There's more. There's more.
Okay, Marie, your fourth one is here.
No, but I'm missing seven.
No, he asked Roland to substitute. Roland, he substituted.
Roland, me.
Me.
Oh, Kevin appointed him.
Well, I mean, Kevin told me he didn't appoint me, that's why I asked.
Well, he didn't want to change.
One more reference.
Yes.
I think that's it. I was going to say, you brought it out. You're ready?
That's exactly right. I said,
I don't think so. I think they're like,
I'm sorry, any commotion. Today we'll start with a report, two flash report by the President.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot of things to talk about, and I'm going to start with something else before I get to the flash report and work backwards. But you should know that everyone here should know by now that Building 2 bridging is coming down. Buildings now, so you know this is really moving well. And as long as we don't get hit with the snowstorm that's coming in from the Midwest, which could shut us down for a few days, Building 6 will be the middle of May, gone. Building 3, early July, gone. Then there'll only be 2 buildings covered. That'll be fabulous, right? That'll be great. We're getting back our property, but of course we're finding as they take it down what happened to all our everything else. Now, yesterday, today's Thursday, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yesterday, I was at the local Law 11 meeting, and I negotiated with our contractor Bren and with our site safety people to get the playground open on the 20th of April.
wow.
On weekends, from now until they remove the scaffolding. It will be cleaned on the 19th by our people, spray washed, it'll be spotless for Saturday morning. And then for every weekend after that, they will have the playground back. Can't get the weekdays yet, but the weekends, yes. They'll make sure the nuts and bolts are tightened, all that other stuff. So that's a big thing. Now, composting. The general manager has sent out an email to a large number of people, board members, the composting committee, MGCA president, and this is why he sent out this email tonight. And I talk about it all the time because this is something I'm working on, and so is Russell working on very diligently. We are prepared to submit our plan, sign the contract with the Department of Sanitation. But since the day we first discussed this at the first board meeting till today, the Department of Sanitation changed what they require of us in terms of barrels. We needed a 64-gallon barrel with a special bar across the middle that can be picked up by a truck. It comes in, picks it up, throws it over the back, and empties the plastic bag that's tied before it gets thrown into the truck. Well, they decided that we're in a transition period and that we shouldn't buy 64-gallon barrels. We have to buy 32-gallon barrels with the same design as the 64-gallon barrel, except for one thing. They can't find one that meets that specification. We are waiting for a barrel. When we get it, we're going to buy 6 instead of 3, but we can't buy anything until we get a barrel with the steel rod in the side that can be lifted by the machine. Now, why do they want the smaller barrel? Because they're changing over from a machine that lifts the container into the truck to the gentleman picking the plastic out of the bag and throwing it into the truck, because they're expanding the program to all the schools in Manhattan. And they want sanitation workers not to use that truck. They want to use a different type of truck where you just throw the composting plastic bags in. So we are stuck We are ready to go, and we're starting. So I can't tell you when that's going to happen. So just so you have an idea. Now, let's go to April 3rd. And you'll notice that on April 3rd, the president made a statement. That's me. Okay. So I made a statement, and the reason why I made this statement is at the previous board meeting on March 19th, I was challenged by a member of the board who was a past president, who accused me of being a party to what the general manager was presenting in his management report to the board. And I told him, it is not, he said, it is your plan. I said, it's not my plan, it's the general manager's plan. And then I discovered later that during that term of office, and probably not just when Russell was here, but maybe going back even earlier, this person was meeting with the general manager and reviewing the report and editing it and pulling things out of it. I don't do that. It's not my job to do that. It's the board's job to manage the manager. And the manager has the right to present the things he believes are necessary to the board when he believes they are necessary. And it's not my job to edit it or censor it so that the board members don't know what he wants the board to know. And that's why that statement's there. Now, as for the treasurer's report, this is the accountant's report. The fabulous news in this report, the fabulous news is something that you have never heard before. But we have a surplus of, where's my surplus? You don't have it.
April 3rd?
The April 3rd, yes. But I'm looking for my page.
April 3rd,
Yes.
anybody?
I'm looking for my page in here that I love. And it's usually back to back, but I'm reading this front to back. Oh, here. We have a surplus by our accountant's own hand of 200, who should I give it to? Yeah? Okay. $294,625. Is that sensational or what? You've never heard that before. $294,625. Surplus. Now, how do we get to this number? Well, it's an accounting number. It is not a cash number. Okay? All right.
They call it virtual.
Now, this is important. Now, no tricks were used in developing this surplus. There is no hanky-panky or anything else. But we spent an exorbitant amount of money on fuel. Exorbitant. The surcharge that we charged brought that number down by $100,000. The accountant believes that that number does not belong above the line, when they talk about above regular expenses. It belongs below the line. By putting it below the line, it shows that we did the right thing and we accounted for all the money. And because of that, we have a surplus, an accounting surplus of $294,625. Now, normally what would happen with the surplus is we would take that, because it's cash, and move it to the reserve fund. But because it's an accounting number that says you achieved this because of the way you used your money this year, there is no money to move. But what it does for us, it makes us look great. To who? The banks. The bank, our Wells Fargo bank, number one. Number two, to every person who comes here and sends his attorney to review our books. Looks great. 2 years in a row. Last year was a little one, this is a big one. And now that we have our own boilers and our own chimney and we're functioning in a pretty good way, and we had a smaller increase this year than last year, we may be break even or be a little bit above, but we should be in much better shape going forward as we've been going. And this is really good management. It's good management for us. So, now, the bad news. I gotta give you bad news. I gave you good news, it's bad news. We are up $300,000 in money owed to the corporation. We are at $1.3 million owed. And you know who owes it? I don't know if it's anybody in this room, but there are people in this development that owe us $1.3 million. And it's not just the states, because these states were closing down. These are people who owe us from the amount of, now I don't know any names because I don't want to know names, but it's from 5,000 going up. And it's big, we're talking about bucks. Now, you should know, these people have not gone to the office and said to the general manager, I have a problem, I want to work it out. Most of these people, don't need to say it that way. from what I understand the general manager, most of the people have not gone into the office and said, I know, I'm in arrears, you sent me a letter, I want to work it out. Yeah, it hasn't happened. So these people, we consider them deadbeats, and we're going to get the money. Don't worry, we're going to get the money. But here's the problem. We went up 300,000 more than last year. We were $1 million last year, we're at $3 million this year. The accountant has told us that if this does not change between now and the annual report, we need to budget another base, start at the very beginning, $300,000 has to be budgeted into the maintenance, which is about a 2.5% increase before we figure taxes or anything else, because we have to protect the corporation. That number can't keep growing, it's got to diminish. So I can only tell you this, that Russell is being very progressive on this, and we're moving forward, and we're going to try to lower this number drastically. And he can read he reads all this stuff, he's got it all scoped out on his computer, he knows everybody's name. I don't want to know one. But the point is, he knows everybody's name, he has sent letters to everybody, and there are people that have come in and spoken to him, and that's fine, they're working it out, but most people have not come in to work it out. And there are things he's going to be doing to start collecting this money. And I can't discuss it with you what they are, but I want you to know we're aggressively pursuing it, because we don't want to start the budget process by having 2.5% as a baseline increase and working from there. That doesn't make any of us happy, correct? Okay, so we're not going to let that happen. At least I hope not. Yeah, yes, you can ask them about this report. Go ahead.
How many people is that?
30, I think 35. 35, about 35 apartments, I think is the number. I could be wrong, it could be 45, but it's in there.
I don't understand very well. What's the root cause of the problem?
We don't know.
They
Because they
just
didn't come in to talk.
They don't pay anything?
They're in arrears. We don't know. They were sent letters, they haven't come in, they haven't explained what the problem is, they haven't said, I'm gonna pay you like next month. We don't know.
No sublets, no...
This is not subletting, this is straight, we know who they are, these are real people, we know. Now you wanna talk about sublets? We're going after all the illegal sublets. We're going after everyone we can find, we're going after them. And you know, we're going, I think you'll see in my annual report, I've talked about there are at least 3 families that are warehousing 3 apartments on us. We're going after those 3 apartments. That has to stop. So we're cutting, so in this year, this is the first year that this can actually be said. This board has aggressively pursued the estates, arrears, and apartments that are being warehoused. We're pursuing everything. That's never happened before. Our attorney is told, drop the hammer on these people. We want this taken care of. We've had enough. We want the money. That's it. So that's what we're going for. Yes, Louis.
Those 35 people, you wouldn't know what percentage are new people or old people, or you don't know that?
I don't know names. I don't want to know names, but I don't think they're old people. I do not believe they're old people.
Newer people.
They're newer. They could be as new as me or newer than me. I don't know. I can tell you, I'm not in arrears. Just so you know. Teresa takes care of all those bills. I'm not in arrears. Okay, yes.
How many years does it go back?
I don't know. All I know is right now, this is the year we went up $300,000. Don't forget, we had a whole group of estates that went back years that nobody was collecting money on. We were just going, okay, we got estates, you know. Okay, we got estates, but nobody was collecting. Now we're collecting money. We're making them sell the apartment. We're collecting the money. We're going forward. So it doesn't matter how many years. It can't be years because the number is not. I told you it's from $5,000 going up. The estates being the largest, but we're closing them down. But it's enough to be annoying, and when you add them all together, you get $1.3 million. Okay? Now.
I don't understand. You said $1.3 million, but you're talking about having to budget in advance for the...
She wants us to budget for the 300 extra that came up this year. She wants that budgeted for. You've been carrying $1 million.
Just the carrying is not...
She wants us to budget against the 300 increase. That's what it is. She says you're getting dangerously close to where it's not good. You know, you come to the point where you have everybody owing money and nobody paying. Hey, you think you know what happens
I
there?
just didn't
Oh,
understand,
okay.
so 1 million.
Yeah, no. She doesn't want us to budget for $1 million. She wants us to budget for that extra 300, but we want to chop that down to under $1 million,
Got it.
then we're in better shape. Okay, now, on the last page, you have what's called the capital budget plan. Now, I want to say this to you. No one has ever given you more information than this board has. You have 2 charts in here. This is where your money is. This is the reserve money. This is the way you've been spending it. This is what we've been doing to improve this place. Thank to Glenn Bader, I miss him a lot, but Glenn Bader, who created the first capital spreadsheet and gave us an idea of what we needed to do. And that spreadsheet this year was worked on. And it was worked on by someone with great mathematics skills and scientific skills. Because I could have only screwed this up. So I have to thank Tova for taking the time to getting the numbers right. She wouldn't let me have wrong numbers. I was settling for wrong numbers. She said, you have to have right numbers. So we have right numbers. But the numbers change. You have to understand. The numbers change because we're in flux. Because I want to explain this one process to you. There is money that's in escrow held by Wells Fargo. That is for all of what we call local law 11. Now, what that work is, you'll see in another chart. That money we cannot use. We have to use our reserve fund to pay our bills. Then our capital, the local 11 work is paid by our reserve fund money. But don't get nervous, Lottie, I'll tell you. We pay that bill. We get a receipt. We get a batch of receipts together. We call up Wells Fargo and say, guess what? We have $1 million in receipts. We need you to refund the money. We need you to reimburse the money to us from the escrow account. Wells Fargo says, okay, we're sending over a guy. A guy comes over and he says, let me see this, let me see this, let me see this, let me see this, and then he signs off on it. Then the bank sends us the money. That money goes back into the reserve fund. So you got reserve fund money paying Brand and all the other ancillary things we'll talk about. That money then gets receipts because we paid them. We submit those receipts to Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo sends a guy out to check to see that we did the work, and then he okays the reimbursement of that escrow money that they took from us when we first signed the loan back to us, which we put into the reserve fund. So this is a fluid situation of money that's occurring as we speak, all right? But, so that you know, what we've done is, that if you look at this sheet, right, everyone sees this sheet we're talking about? It's called the capital budget plan. Line number 1 is local law 11. That's not what this sheet is about, but that's local law 11. Below it is lines 2 through, you turn the page, through 40. No, 2 to 34, I'm sorry, 2 to 34. Now, those are all items that were designated for work to be done in a 10-year period. And what the loan, the refinancing of a mortgage was supposed to, what is to do. Not supposed to do, is to do. Now, we've made it easier to read because instead of running a sheet that runs for 10 years, we've got it down to a page that you only have to understand every quarter. So what do we do here? Let's look at line 10. Line 10 says landscape. Well, on the 19th of March, are we okay? Is everybody all right? Line 10.
Oh, line 10, yes.
Yes.
No.
Line 10. On March 19th, the board approved $23,000 to be spent on Richie Cabo for about $4,000 in labor and the rest for plantings around building 1 and building 2. That is capital because we're restoring our destroyed property. So we had a $175,000 budget. We take $23,000 away. We go all the way to the right on line 10, and we have $152,000 left in that budget line. Okay? Does everyone see how that works? Yeah. All right. Now, You go down to the perimeter sidewalk replacement. We had $307,000 left in work. Of that,
Which line?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. 12. If you look, we have $307,000, $375 left in that line. There's still a lot of concrete work to do because we have work that couldn't be done because the bridging is sitting on the spots we have to repair. So, but some work was done by our architect, I forgot what happened this month, but work was done, $2,325 of concrete work. That reduces that line now to $305,180. Okay? You see that? You read left to right. Okay. Now, the domestic gas lines, capital plumbing, domestic hot water, vertical plumbing, inspection replacement, those are combinations of lines that were single. We put them all together. They had $1,175,000 as their budget. That's line 14. During this quarter, we have spent $5,384 on some of this work for plumbing or whatever that had to be done as capital work. So that reduces that number, when you read it to the right, to $1,169,635. All right? Now, go down to the $104,000, line 24. Now, what is the $104,000 for? It says master plan non-discretionary road interior paths lighting. On April, no, we're in April, and no, not in March. In February, thank you, she's reading my minutes. In February, we approved the hiring of Domingo Gonzalez Lighting. Well, Domingo Gonzalez Lighting is going to design the lighting for our campus. It's going to be spectacular, and it's going to be safe. You're going to feel very comfortable walking every path, every staircase. These guys are internationally known. They're unbelievable. And so we approved that money. That contract has yet to be signed, if anybody's wondering, because it's been going back and forth. Legal, my head spins, but it's going back and forth, but we're going to get this thing signed. Now, so out of $2 million, we've used $104,800. You see now the $2 million's been reduced to one. Well, that number got smudged on mine. I don't know if you can read it. But 1,895? Okay, 200. All right, now, go down to line 30. My favorite line. Chimney temporary boilers. Now,
Zero.
21,013. No, it's zero left in the line. But we spent $21,013 because the temporary boilers did not leave here till the end of January. And that's your January charge. So while there's no money left in the line, we used capital funds to pay that expense. All right? Turn over to the back of the page. Now, you look at line 34, contingency. $1,187,000. We spent $13,961 out of that contingency in the first quarter. So when you look, you see local law 11 all the way on line 35, column C. Local law 11 is reported in the first quarter to have $6,280,624 in the escrow account, not in our account. We know that the remaining projected costs for all the columns, all the lines, except line 1, from line 2 to line 34, is $10,781,871. We know that we've appropriated in this quarter $127,800. Okay? That's column E. That's what the board appropriated. We've committed to purchasing these items through a contract. We're engaged in a contract. But we also spent money in that quarter for items that we know were allocated to be budgeted. That's the line, that's column G. And I showed you where those were. And we spent $42,663 in that column. Then the total money spent during the first quarter on local law 11 was $805,026. That's what we spent out of our reserve fund, not reimbursed to us. Okay? You see how that all works? Now, To make it even better, we have a reserve fund status. So, the total reserve funds on March 31st were $6,638,848.90. That's not bad. But we are mandated to hold back, I forgot the percentage.
1 month rent, 1 month maintenance.
1 month, good, I forgot. 1 month's rent. You can't expect me to remember everything, so I tried. 1 month's maintenance total maintenance must be held back in the reserve fund. That's $1,102,027. Now, every year, if our maintenance goes up, that number will go up as 1 month's maintenance, you know, the January maintenance number. Then, it says money committed in the first quarter 2013 to sign contracts. We have 2 signed contracts, right? Domingo Gonzalez and the plantings around building 1 and 2. That is now $127,800. The total reserve and committed funds is $1,229,000. That's lines B and C added together. You take that total away from line A, and you get what's left available in cash in our reserve fund. $5,407,022. Okay? Every quarter, you will see this report. The next one you see is July. The one after that is October. Because when I say the quarter, even though June is the quarter, you have to wait for a bank statement. You realize that. So you'll see the next one July, the next one October, the next one January for December. Okay? These are important documents. You now have information you did not know before. You know where your reserve fund's going to be spent and how it's going to be spent. Okay? This is important to you. This is the money that we refinanced our mortgage for. All right. Now, let's go back 1 month. I'll take the next report. I'm working backwards. So, the next report is called Local Law 11 from October 15, 2008.
Excuse me for a second.
Yes.
I think we are missing some enough copies of the March 19. So could you please share?
Don't have any.
The March 19, we are missing. We don't have enough copies. I don't have enough. So could you please share?
Does anyone have an extra, like a copy they can just get Ralph to use until we get him a copy?
Use that. Okay. No, you two can share. You don't have.
Ralph, who else has a copy? Why don't you move up next to, oh, there it is. Okay, very good. All right. Are we good?
Do you have an extra? No, but you look on with her.
I opened the top, so it's good for my head. Okay. So, October 15, 2008 is the magic date we began Local Law 11, which has turned into something greater than Local Law 11. Okay? So, Brand is our vendor for Local Law 11 work. Now, the original contract to do Local Law 11, and everyone know what Local Law 11 really is?
Yes.
Everyone knows? There's no one that doesn't know.
By the city.
Now, this is what, let me just say this. Local Law 11 is the pointing of bricks to make sure that the bricks don't fall off the building and kill somebody. That's what Local Law 11 is. And it's in a cycle. We're up into the 7th cycle. We're so far ahead because our buildings have taken so long to finish everything we have to finish, where we don't have to worry about this. We're in good repair. Now, the original contract was $4,983,965 to do Local Law 11. The change orders that we have executed over from 2008 to the January 2013 is $3,782,482.60. I'm reading the left-hand side if anyone is confused. Okay, so the new amount to Brent is $8,766,447.60. Almost twice, and we're not finished.
No.
We're not finished. There's 2 other items, or 3 other items that still may come up, and that we're going to have to pay for, and I'll tell you about that. The work completed and things that are stored come out to $7,137,803.03. We've paid them, out of all the money they billed us for, $6,606,398.72. We will owe them, and the balance to finish with the retainage, we have a retainage of 10%, is $2,160,048.88. So, when you look over to the right, you look at the little box on the right, it says certified payment to Brent, $6,606,398.72. We had to spend $672,000 for the sheds. That's the sidewalk bridging and the scaffolding going up the side. You know those special scaffolding went up in the balconies? The high scaffolds. The non-facade work, because that's what local law 11 is $3,110,482.60. And the direct, that's excluding sheds and scaffolding, but all direct facade work is the $6,606,398.72 minus the $3,110,482, which is $2,823,916.12. Okay, so you see on the bottom the chart. It talks about sheds and scaffolding. Tells you the price. Tells you allocated but not yet billed. We still have $52,000 to pay that line. Roofs. Roofs. Yeah. Our roofs were so terrible when we started local law 11, and nobody wanted to repair them. The roofs have been repaired. These are the best roofs in the world. They're going to be in a magazine. I told them today, I told them at the local law meeting, you tell the guy that's putting us in a magazine, we want money for showing our picture. They laughed. So I assume we're not getting money. But the point is, the roofs, this is what I've been told by people on the 21st floor. Who's on the 21st floor? Anybody? I have been told that you have never been so warm in your entire lives here. Is that correct?
It's so bad you wouldn't believe it.
Right. So here's what happened. We managed to keep in the building. We've actually kept the heat in the building on the top floor. And this year, in the summertime, we're going to keep the heat out of the building on the top floor. Think about that. Isn't that fabulous? And these are incredible roofs. And we're doing everything to protect them into the future so we get maximum life out of them. Now, the other wonderful thing we've had to do, in 2002, how many people lived here in 2002? Anybody? Okay. Do you remember when we did balconies in 2002? Well, we've just done them all over again because they weren't done right in 2002. So that's why we're now spending $917,237.50 on them. Some balconies had to be completely taken apart and rebuilt from scratch. Other balconies had to be patched. It's amazing what we've had to do to these balconies because the work in 2002 was not done in a way that would have prevented us from doing it again now. It's a horrible thing that happened. But I'm going to say this clearly. When you are penny wise, you are pound foolish. You must spend the money to protect your investment. You are shareholders. We are shareholders. And we have to spend it to protect it. Otherwise, we wind up making this terrible mistake. This is a terrible mistake. Okay? Now, the other wonderful thing that's happened while doing this is as they did the balconies, they found the drain pipes in the balcony, because our balconies are built brilliantly. Every newer balcony is built so the water hits the balcony and runs out into the street. Our balconies, when the water hits, runs into the building. So there's a shifting of these pipes in the building. Now my good friend John, where's John? John. He had the benefit of the leak that occurred below my floor. I'm in the A apartment. He has no balcony. And he had spalled plaster walls. How many months? How many years?
6 months.
6 months. Because the pipe was broken at a higher point, and the water was spilling out from the pipe into his wall, spalling. You know what spalling is? The plaster becomes crumbly and paints here. It's disgusting. So he was suffering with that. And there are many shareholders that suffer like that, because unless the water is draining directly out, you got to do something. So, like in my line, they replaced the whole line. If it was more than 3 in a line, they replaced the whole line. If it was 3 or under, they replaced what had to be replaced. So that's how they worked it out.
Line as you.
Right. So you caused John's problem. It wasn't me. Okay. So
Now we know
anyhow,
the truth.
so you see, What's left to be paid right now is $799,876.50. Let me just turn the page. I should have a back page here.
I think.
Oh, here it is. I was turning it the wrong way. Thank you, Phil. Okay, now, all vendors. These are all the guys we're paying happily to get this job done. Kutcher Judge Tubman Allen, fabulous architect. Fabulous. Thank God we have them. They're class. They know what they're doing. They come to every local law 11 meeting. They know their job. They certify our payments. When the job is declared done, they certify it. They check it. They fly the rigging to make sure the pointing is done correctly. They're sensational. We have paid them $1,113,566.25. Now I will tell you something you've never heard before because it was kept from you. Kutcher George Tubman and Allen, Doug Kutcher George of Kutcher George Tubman and Allen came here one night last year, and it was a closed board session, which none of you were allowed to hear. I don't know why. I objected, but you weren't allowed to hear it. And he explained what happened in this project. When they estimated this job, they had to do it from the ground looking up, because there's no way to do it from the air looking in. You had to do it from the ground looking up. He looked at the buildings. He said, okay, I think this job is worth $75,000, or not 75, I'm sorry, about $500,000 is what the job is worth. And then they started doing the work. And now we're up to $1,113,000. I'm talking about his fee. His fee, he thought was $500,000. He's still here working. Because that's how intensive this job was. Now, Total Safety Consulting. Now this was the surprise of the year for us. In May of 2009, actually before May, in April, they told us you have to have a site safety engineer.
Yeah.
But not one site safety engineer. You have to have one per building. Then they fought with them. Then we said we don't need site safety engineers. We have Uric from Brent. He's checking the job out. No, you have to have a site safety engineer that the city of New York approves. Okay? We fought with them for 5 months. You know what happened for 5 months?
Nothing.
Nothing. No work was done. Brent is sitting here 5 months longer because we wanted to fight with the city and not hire site safety engineers. We finally hired 2. The 2 of them worked. They get, I wish I could redo my life and be them. This company since 2009 has been paid $490,834.96, and we're not finished. The good news, we're going down to 1 site safety supervisor till the end of the job. It's imminent. It's going to happen in a few days. We're going to be reduced to 1 because they had to certify that one guy can, in 1 day, certify the work was being done safely in all the remaining buildings. And I wrote that, they approved it, so we're getting down to 1. Okay, now, drains. Drains are the pipes that we've been replacing in the balconies. Drain King was doing it for a while, and Mighty Mechanical, a plumbing company, is now doing it. And we're up to $70,774. We're almost at we're pretty close to the end of doing this particular piece of job. And then we hired, which was a really good hire. I have to say this. I wasn't sure this is something I wanted, and I voted for it finally, and I'm glad I did, and I'm glad we've kept him. This is the owner's representative. This is a very knowledgeable. This is JMA. This is a very knowledgeable fellow. He does. He works. He's so prestigious. The city has to ask him about things. You know, when they consult on rules and stuff on construction. And he has helped us get through some difficult moments and alerted us some very important things. And I'll give you an example of something that was important to us, which I had no idea was this important. Somewhere along the line, we agreed to change order 19. Change order 19 said, this was before I was president. Change order 19 said that every time you do a change order, for every $5,000, you add 1 day of time to the time of completion of the job. Now, the reason why Brent wanted that is that Brent didn't want to go into default if he couldn't finish the job on time because he had a date to finish. He had to finish by a certain date. But when you're handing out change orders, and we are handing out change orders, he had to protect himself, and he got us convinced, not me, because I wasn't party to this, but they convinced them that this was the way to go. And from what I understand, I don't believe we even consulted council. We just approved it. Came to the board approved it. Now, it's not a terrible thing, because in reality, if I told you the real date of completion, you'd all have a heart attack right now. But I won't tell you the real date of completion, because it's not going to happen. It's going to be much earlier than that.
Yeah.
This was a protective thing
Right.
for Brent, okay? So, but here's what happened. Once we signed local change order 19, the garage had to be repaired. We couldn't get a C of O for the garage, and we needed to repair the garage, the exterior of the garage. And the previous board did something that was not intelligent. They came to us.
One thing.
Now, why do you want to egg me on? Just let me tell the report.
No editorial.
Right. What they did was, they took the job for the garage and said to Brent, this is a side job. You're not doing it as part of the contract. It will not be a change order. Now, nobody knew this because nobody told us. But when I became the president and I was sitting in the room with them and they were going to take now the Cobra lights off, which nobody in the entire time of this job fought to remove from the buildings. Brent was actually putting them back on the building. You know the Cobra lights, right? The ones that hang off? Those nice, War of the Worlds heads that come off the building. So they had to come off because we're lighting the grounds. We're doing a whole different lighting system, and that's not going to be compatible with what we're doing. But in order to take them off, you have to do, it needs an architectural design. It needs to have the brickwork broken. It needs to have the electric line killed. It needs to have the box cut out. It needs to have waterproofing put on. It needs to have brickwork put back. And if you notice, the brickwork is very good. You can't tell where they did this work. The Brent is they do outstanding work. Because I've seen buildings where, oh, I know, local law 11, I could tell. So, what happened was, I said at the table, and we do not want to do one day for every 5,000. Whatever you're going to charge us, we don't want it. We'll do it as a side job, as we did in the garage. Well, Gene, JMA, said, why would you ever do that? I said, because it was done before. He said, you never do that. Brent is covered by insurance when they're working on the job under this job. If you hire them separately, you are dealing with a non-insured contractor, and the corporation is liable. You keep it under the contract. So it became a change order. That's a small change order, but it became a change order, which is fine. But there was no days added. I got Matthew to agree, no days added. So it was fine. But the thing was that this is only an example of how important it is that he comes once a month to our meetings and reviews the site and is available to discuss things at the table. Okay? So there's your cost breakdown by vendors. And then when you look at the total outlay through January 31st, you can see that we've spent $8,314,537.60. Now this report is going to be a 6-month report. I've asked Russell, by the way, the other report is going to be produced by Russell and this one will also. I asked Russell to make this every 6 months. So the next time you see this, it will be July. Okay? Not this. I mean this. The next time you see this will be July, right? Okay? And as shareholders, if you don't see it, because we are having a small little party here in the next month that may change everything. So if something should happen that the world changes, you as shareholders have a right to know this information. You want to make sure that whatever happens in the future, you demand to have the information. Do not allow anyone to prevent you from having it. Okay? We're a corporation. You're shareholders. We own this place. We have a right to know about it. And this is the first time you actually know about it. Okay. So, I think, let me see, now we're on the March 19th, the rest of it. Let me see, anything interesting in here?
Okay.
Oh, well, you know bed bugs, right? We've done a lot about bed bugs.
Oh, I've had it.
We are the killers of bed bugs. This board is going to go down in history as the major killer of bed bugs. Once October came and we understood the problem that Building 5 was having, we determined that it had to come to an end. And as you know, we treat bed bugs in the most aggressive way. If a shareholder, and by the way, no one should ever be ashamed about having bed bugs. This is not a matter of being clean or not clean. This is a matter of, you could be sitting on the train next to someone who's carrying them. You could go to a movie theater and sit in the chair that someone had them. You don't know where you can get them from. It doesn't necessarily come from the foreign country by a traveler coming here. It could be anybody having them at any time. And you can just have one latch onto you and you have a family living in your apartment. The key is that as soon as you think you have a bed bug, you should call the office and say, I believe I have bed bugs. They will set up a date, they will set up an inspection, they will tell you what you have to do, and they will come in and they will go and look. If you have no bed bug, they need to do nothing else. But if your apartment were to be contaminated with bed bugs, they would then do the apartment to the left of you, the apartment to the right of you, the apartment below you, and the apartment above you. Because you know what bed bugs don't do? They don't walk across the hall. I don't know. This is what they told us. They don't cross the hall. They will not go out underneath your door and walk across into the apartment across the hall. But they will go from your apartment through the wall into the guy's apartment next door, or the gal's apartment next door.
We
Okay?
had two major infestations here when I was there a few years ago, and the apartment adjacent to them got infected. No case was the apartment across infected.
But they were in our building.
It's possibly it was two different infestations.
We
didn't
have no way to know.
We have no way to know, but the odds it comes from the same source are probably 1 to 1,000. Because
Okay.
we had major infestation, we had to pull out the whole kitchen.
I can
We
do
had to pull
another
out the
hour.
wiring.
I can do another hour.
No,
Okay.
you're not.
Okay, but the parking audit. How many people park here?
I used to. There's a lot of illegal
All right.
subletters.
How many of you have gotten your letter from Captain Montalvo, your contract, and gotten your ticket and put it on the car? Okay. I'm telling you, it's really important to get this done, because in another month or so, they're going to be walking around and looking, and if you don't have it, they're going to give you another chance to get it, and then they're going to be towing cars out of here.
Great.
Okay? Because we're not going to tolerate this. You have to sign a contract, and you have to have a proper decal on your car to certify that that's your spot. That's the rule. That's the contract you signed before, and this is the contract you're signing now with just a little bit more explanation about how many vehicles can be assigned to a spot at the same time. Someone raised that night. I said, okay, we got to explain it. All right. The bicycle audit. How many people have bicycles? I don't. You do. You do. Okay, bicycles. There's going to be a bicycle audit, and there's going to be a bicycle contract. And you're going to have you're going to know what the contract says, and everyone's going to follow this contract. And the bicycles that don't get claimed and are not known, out. By the way, anybody live in building 2 and have a bicycle? Get it off the railing if you haven't done so, because it should be out of there, because they're cutting the chains, because the railing's coming down tomorrow. You know building 2? The bridging is the only thing left. The actual iron, that's coming down. Okay. All right, so let's see. As I go through this.
We're going to fly tomorrow to the people.
They did. They sent out a flyer. All of building 2 and building 1, I think. Yes. I'm sorry.
Last night, the bike that was on the pole was gone.
Yeah, which is good. Right? Okay. So let's see. I talked about Mary Thompson. You spoke about Mary Thompson. Spoken about here too. I gave you the long range committee, the long range planning committee report. By the way, outstanding committee. I have to thank them very much for being sensational, working through this year. I was not the original chair of the committee. By the way, I'm the chair of that committee. I wasn't the chair of the committee. The chair of the committee had to resign very early in the term. There was no one available. I took on the responsibility, and and thanks to Tova, she made me look good, which I'm really happy about, because these reports are self-explanatory. Because I couldn't have created them, believe me. It's numbers. I love my checkbook. I can balance that checkbook. But now, you know that the bylaws committee, the bylaws advisory committee reported out that they are looking toward November, I believe, for, the committee is aiming to bring its proposal to the board in May. They didn't have enough time. This is a very extensive report, open market. And there's a lot that's connected to the open market, and before it goes to the shareholders, they have to be clear, because then they have to bring it to us, we have to be clear, and then it has to go out to all the meetings that we want to have, to hear from everybody, to see if there should be changes made. And then the attorney is working with us on this, and then it'll go to the shareholders for a vote, and it'll be like we do for every big vote. You know, it'll be a special meeting held here. We're not going to rent JTS. We'll do like we did for the bylaw advisory committee change. Okay, so that's that. The elections committee, they gave a great report. My name is in that report, so it must be a great report. The grounds committee, that's where we did it. You know what? Yes, we did. In March 19th, right. We promulgated $23,000 for the grounds. And then there were, let's see, and then we also approved that the system, that various committees get copies of alteration agreements from other CSR buildings, so they can look it over and examine them. So that's the report. Any questions?
Okay, questions, comments?
Andrea?
My question is back on the capital budget plan.
All right, that's the other one. I'm back.
The one that was updated for the first quarter.
Yes, I got it.
How, like, for a two-part question.
Which
One
page
is-
you on? The first page or the second page?
Well, I'm looking, for example, at the first page, like, say,
Which line?
30 and 30 I'm looking at, and
30.
36.
Right.
But those respective lines that have zero, or 16, domestic water, whatever. Right now, there's nothing projected. And
No, BMS was completed.
Okay, but my point is that for these items, and I understand what I heard when this was first presented, was that things could change. The initial one that we saw, the first one, showed that there was no money for this, it came out of line, whatever. You
That
know,
was the one all the way back,
Right.
before we got to this, right.
Right. So in the case of places where there is no money now, and 9 more years or whatever is left, I'm assuming then money has to come from someplace. So that will still be, in other words, let's say there is.
I'll explain. I
the
understand your
RP
question. Can I explain?
Yeah. That's
Okay, all right. The $21,013 is an easy number. It's a small number. We just took it and used it, because the chimney was allotted for, but there was zero money at the time. So we're not going to worry about moving that around so much. We'll probably take care of that when we meet again in May or June. LRPC will make some sort of suggestion how to account for that money, okay? Now, let's say let's take the light, okay? The light. We have no idea how much the exterior lighting is going to cost us. We don't, because we don't have a plan. The plan is going to cost us $104,000 to create. But this is what we're assured of. Having spoken to Domingo, the principal of the company, who came here, what was amazing about him, he came here with everybody that was going to be involved in this project. And it was just, he addressed all our concerns. It was really, he's going to be very, very good for us. He said, look, for $104,000, you're buying a certain amount of time that I will be here to meet with you and have meetings with the committee, and with Nick and Tom will be on it also, because remember, part of this work is going to be done by us. He said, but you're also going to get a minimum of 3 designs. 3 designs that will be costed out as close to accurate as anyone could cost it out. So you will be able to choose from a low cost, a middle cost, and a high cost. And you might even get 5 designs, but you'll definitely get 3 designs. Now, let's say that design to do that work, even with us using in-house, costs more than the remaining balance. Where is that now? I'm looking for that
$1
number,
million.
I'm sorry.
I don't think it's
Which is 1,895,200. Let's say it costs $2.5 million. I don't think it will, but let's say it does. We will then have to adjust in here numbers, take things away,
That's what I thought.
and move it into that line, because you can't fabricate the money out of nowhere.
Right.
You only have two ways to get this money. No, wait, we're not the government, we can't do that. But we can do something like that, though. We have two ways to get the money. One is to use the money contained within these numbers and move them around and bring some of them to zero even, and say we can't do this work, and put the money there. And the other way is to say, oops, we don't have any of that money to use, we're gonna have to go to the shareholders, and we're gonna have to raise the money from the shareholders, and charge every apartment a certain amount of money to do the job. Now, right now, we're not in bad shape, we're in good shape. We've designated 5 important items to be done: exhaust fans and electrical infrastructure, outdoor lighting, garbage solution, interior lighting. Those are your 5 main items, I believe.
Yes.
And I think BMS is somewhere here.
No, BMS is not.
AMS has nothing.
Not BMS, but phase 4, phase
Phase
5
4,
is here.
5, yes.
Supposed to be there.
Yes,
Oh,
so, line 7.
Line 7, right? Okay, that's what I missed. Okay, now, this print is getting smaller, my eyes are getting just as good. So, we figure that we have enough money to do those 5 projects with what is currently in the bank, without relying on escrow money coming back to us and doing it, or seeking any other money. But remember, at the same time, the way this mortgage was created, the way this reserve fund was created, and everyone should understand this. There was a group on the board that wanted to get a much bigger mortgage, and believed that we were like any other commercial enterprise. You get a bigger mortgage, you got the money up front, you get that money, you know you have it, whatever you needed to spend on, it's there. In the end, when the mortgage was due, you refinance it. Like every other corporation in the world, you don't worry about what's left. You just refinance it. There was another group on the board, the majority of the time, that said, we can't do that. We have to take a smaller number because we don't feel comfortable with this. We want to wind up with the smallest amount left at the end of the 10-year period that we have to deal with. And in doing that, they created a system whereby you had money in hand from the refinance, and then you were looking for money from the flip tax, money to the reserve fund. Now, so far, and I'm not saying it's not working, so far, we are selling apartments because that changed this year too. Frank was given the go-ahead to be aggressive in talking to shareholders and explaining to them that that magnificent piece of paper that you're getting tomorrow, you know that magnificent little book that says maximum resale price?
Yeah.
The only guys that benefit from that is the corporation when it's flipped, when it's sold. Because we get 15% on the maximum resale price, even if you don't sell it at that price. That's the rule. We don't get 15% on the sale price. We get 50% on the maximum resale price. Yes. No? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I got everybody upset. Tell me again.
Yes, you did.
We are getting 50%.
Don't get upset. Relax.
The corporation is getting 15% of the actual profit. So if you bought your
Oh, you see, I listened to Dan. I shouldn't have listened to Dan. Okay, that's what the last thing he said to me that stuck in my brain. I knew it wasn't right, but it sounded so good I couldn't resist it. Okay, it's the maximum price. Okay, so here's the thing. The book, here's what's wrong with the book. The book is a lie. The book, the maximum resale price book is a lie. Why is it a lie? Because that apartment will never sell at that price. That is a number that we generated. We generate this number because we were so far behind when we created the number that we had to get the market value up so we can get money out of this deal, sell them at real prices. So here's what happens. The sales and transfer office, someone wants to sell. They say, the person comes in and says, I can get $1.10 million for my apartment. Sales and transfer says to them, no, you can't. you should think that this apartment, I'm gonna come up and look at it, if it's a new apartment, not a 1957 apartment, you understand, we still have those here. We still have apartments that look the day they did when they came in 1957. Okay, so the person says, they go up, they look at it, go, okay, new floors, new kitchen, new bathroom, you know, walls are painted, things are nice. We can get you about 20% less than that number. That's the real price. That's what that'll sell for. Now, here's the fallacy in all this. The number that's in the maximum resale price is supposed to be 80% of market value.
Yeah, right.
We're telling someone buying here that that number is 80% of market value, and we're selling it at 20% lower than that 80%. Do you follow? Okay? Everybody got that? So that paper is a lie, and that's why that bylaw has to be changed. The open market has to be done. Because it's not fair to the buyer, it's not fair to the seller, it takes too much time. But what has happened is the Sales and Transfer Office has been very good at explaining to people, this is what your apartment is worth. We can save you 6% on your profit if you sell it through us. And most people have been selling through us. And people are walking away happy because they're selling it within 8 weeks. It's amazing. It's amazing what's happening. Okay?
But
Yes,
may
please.
may I ask you something? But this has contributed to some problems with that's what's causing the problems with the estates.
No, the estates is not a problem. You know why? We told them you don't sell, we're taking you to court. That solves all the problems. Because they don't want to go to court. They'll lose all their money because we're going to win. And we're going to take the apartment from them, which is a big difference from making money. We told the estates what it's worth, we told them to sell it, and they're telling us we're selling it. They know they have to sell it because we gave them a real price that it's worth. That baloney about, I can't sell it for this price, that's over. Those days are over. This is the price, sell it for this price. That's what's different with this board and what happened before. We're not tolerating those answers from anybody.
So the problem with these ones is that there are people inside.
I don't think I finished answering Andrew's question though. Did I answer your question full?
Yes.
I did? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So is that the problem, that there are people inside those apartments that they don't want to leave? Is that the case?
There's a very small, which apartments are we talking about
No,
now?
the estates.
No,
Because
nobody's in the,
except
except for one, I can't even tell, I'll just say this, except for one estate apartment, which is unique in what we're dealing with. But I told our attorneys today, I want this done, okay? This has got to be done. Everything else is not a problem, they're empty.
So no, I was just curious the reason why someone would do that and be paying maintenance. If
Because
the
they
person's
read
not
the
there.
same, they read the same outrageous document that you're gonna read tomorrow. That document says the apartment's worth $1.1 million. Even if it's a 1957 apartment, we have estates that have nothing done to them. It says it's $1.1 million.
Yeah.
How could it be $1.1 million? I got tile floor, I got wood cabinets made of plywood. You know, how could it be $1.1 million? Okay.
Eric,
Question. Are you saying that the flip tax and the fact that you're selling apartments is going to obviate the need for another mortgage?
No, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. I said the flip
No, I'm
tax.
just asking.
No. This is what I said. I'm going to explain it again. The flip tax and the money we have in the reserve fund now, as the flip tax comes in, we believe that the premise of this whole idea that was created 2 years ago was that the money that's there now, and the money that will come in will be enough over the 10 years to do all of this work. Will be enough. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that we're selling apartments and we're making over $1 million a year. And that's good.
Elwin,
Do we
then
have to go on publishing this fictitious, can't you just post it?
Can't stop it. It's a bylaw. It's a
bylaw
bylaw.
requires it.
The bylaw requires it.
Oh, they hand it out to each
You gotta do it.
That's-
And everybody gets it. Don't forget, any attorney coming here, anybody selling their apartment has a copy of this, they give it to their attorney.
Can't just post it in.
No, it's gotta go to the shareholder.
Such a way.
That's why we have to, that's why this particular issue has to be dealt with this year, okay? And hopefully, when we deal with this issue, I don't have to keep the meeting in recess for 3 days to get enough votes to make a quorum. Because that's what I did for the bylaw advisory committee. I had to recess the meeting on the day we opened here. We didn't have a quorum. And it took us 3 more days to get a quorum on the Saturday following.
Right.
Because the election committee did a fabulous job. They went out to the fair, they went around, because
Knocked on doors.
right, the board couldn't do that. The board members can't touch these ballots or do anything, so we were strapped. It all depended on the election committee, and I have to give Allison credit, she had a great committee, they did a great job. Because on Saturday afternoon, when I opened the meeting, and I didn't open the meeting until Allison said, we got a quorum. I opened the meeting, do we have a quorum? Yes, done.
Right.
Now, someone else had a hand up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I just very
No,
briefly,
she has the order.
okay, I think she was before you.
Okay.
mine is short.
Then you're after Dana, okay?
No, it's okay.
It's okay? All right, go then.
I just want to say, as far as selling apartments, I firmly believe that once the scaffolding comes down and we make our grounds beautiful as they had been and can be, although the daffodils look great now. But when we do that, the place is going to be a lot more attractive. I really think it's going to make a difference when a prospective buyer comes and looks at the grounds and the campus.
It's absolutely true. But there's 2 other things, I have to tell you, there's 2 other things that are gonna be done, that are gonna come up. One, we are going to put permanent tiebacks on the top of the building. We have already lettered a contract through the escrow, the local law 11 part, to the gentleman, the only gentleman that designs permanent tiebacks. There's nobody else in the world that does this in this area.
What's a permanent?
What's it?
What
The
is
tieback is what you need to drop the rigging down the side of the building. And every time they drop that rigging, every building they did, they've had to drill a hole in the deck, holes in the deck. We have just put down the finest roof in the world. We don't want holes drilled every time they have to drop something. But if they had to drop something and you have a permanent tieback, it's easy. You just set it up and you drop it. You don't do any damage to the roof. It's there forever, forever. So we're gonna do that. And the next thing at the meeting, we just asked the architect to do. You know those porticos that stick out from the building, those
They're
wings?
actually canopies.
Canopies. Why do you call, I call them a portico, okay, canopies. Those canopies, right? Okay. You ever notice that they peeled, the paint is coming off? Well, we found out why now. There's no waterproofing on the deck. It's painted, it was just paint on 57 years worth of paint, one paint job. That is gonna come up to be done also, because that, you have to make, you're right, it's not just the grounds, you gotta make the building look right. You take off the Cobra lamps, you put up nice lighting, you fix the door, you make it look attractive, and then you get off the elevator on the floor and go, what happened? Where does this floor come from? It doesn't belong in this building, but that's the way our floors look. We've managed to keep them for almost 60 years, perfect. Perfectly preserved. Okay, so, but that's the key. You've got to do things to save money and to make money. And that's what's going to happen. So anything else?
Any other data? Lucky, I'm sorry, data, then you.
I just had a question about bed bugs.
Oh.
No, just,
Then, please.
is the corporation picking up the tab or a shareholder's
Yes.
bill?
We pick up the entire tab. And by the way, Sabrina said that the last month's meeting, right? We pick up the entire tab. There are places in the world where they charge back to the shareholder. We don't do that. We want you to tell us as early as possible. We get in there. When it's done early, it's hardly any cost. When it's done late, as happened in one building where they had to rip out closets off walls. They had to take plates off walls and rip out the outlets. It was insane what they had to do. That's the worst. That's a horrible thing. And that shareholder, by the way, paid. He reimbursed us for that. But that's why I say, if you get a bed bug, do not be embarrassed. Call the office. Tell the office. They'll have somebody up there. They'll look. You'll know. This week, I think this week we had 2 people call in. Their apartments were inspected. There was nothing. And that's better than not knowing.
Oh, a mosquito bite.
You know what I mean? It's better. Okay? Lottie.
I just want to find out if the resale office has the right to determine the sales price.
No, they don't determine the sales price. What they do is they know what the apartments have sold for. If you are a 2-bedroom, you have a view. This is how you figure it out. We know the 2-bedroom is going to be worth about this much money. You have a beautiful view, it's worth this much more money. But they can't get no matter what they do, they can't get the price up beyond. And it's always done in comparison to what has sold before. That's how you determine. And don't forget, some of our apartments are sold by real estate agents. And sometimes those apartments are not sold for the value. They're sold for less than the value because they're cash transactions. And that really annoys me, but you know, I can't the shareholder's selling it, the shareholder's selling it. But we managed to look at the ones that look right. And there is a difference if you're on a high floor and you face the gardens as opposed to, you know, you face the projects. There's a difference in the value of the apartment on view. I don't know, I never look out my window except to look at the Grant's Tomb every once in a while. I go, oh, that's Grant's Tomb. Fine, okay. But, you know, there are people that they find it priceless. Okay, so you pay for the priceless part. You know, that's the sale. Anything else?
Yes,
The lobbies, are you going to do anything about them?
The lobbies?
Furniture.
Lobbies,
Furniture.
as I remember, there are no lobbies in here. They were taken out by the previous board. Now, the furniture, though, I believe we have to do something
The
about
lobbies
the
are
furniture.
here, I'm sorry.
They are here, how much was in there? There was money that was taken out.
575,000.
Okay, they took the money out, they
They
reduced
took
the money.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
Bobby,
no.
yeah.
It's 575,000. It was like $1 million or
That's right, they cut the money back.
Right.
So we have money allotted, but in terms of priority, as much as I want to fix the chairs, I still have to know how much these 5 big items cost. Once we put the money into those 5 items, then we can see where we are, and then we can figure out what to do next. But you have to do the 5 big items. You know the exhaust. You know what the exhaust fan is, right? Everyone.
And the final thing for me, these odd things on various floors that people have put out as decoration.
Well, that I can't talk. If the floor is unhappy, they should contact the general manager. Leave me alone. Okay, I'm not making war here.
You mentioned exhaust fans. Is that something in the future?
No, we're doing it now. I want you to know, exhaust fans have been progressively attacked right now. They are in building 1. We found out a lot of stuff about these fans. There was a meeting, we had contacted Skylar Engineering, and we told them we wanted to do this. Then we lost about 3 months. We had a meeting with the principal from Skylar, and I told him, I am a very unhappy president. I need you to never have this meeting again with me, but I never want to talk to you again about the lack of work that you are doing to help us solve our problem. And since then, we are learning a lot about these shafts and these fans, and maybe we're going to rebuild them as opposed to buying new ones. And we're moving. We expect, once we solve the first problem, it should be easy to make everything else fall in line.
They were 2 hours in my apartment today.
They came to my apartment too.
Can I make another question?
Just a second. Erica, so now you can ask another
Well,
question.
I wonder if the 5 great projects you have, is restoration included?
No, I told you what the 5 were, Lottie. I said the 5 are lines 2 to, where is it? I'm sorry.
Lines 3 through 7.
3 to 7, that's what it was.
3,
3
4,
to
5,
7.
6, 7. It's actually 2, 4, 5, 6.
3, it's the exhaust fans, the outdoor lighting, the garbage solution, the interior lighting, heating plan
5.
phases 4 and 5.
That's it.
No restoration.
No restoration of what?
Grant.
The roadway.
The roadway will be the roadway cannot be restored until you the earliest it can be restored is when you finish the lighting project. The reason why
But I
is,
mean, money for it, that's not in, is that through?
you know where that money is?
Yeah.
$2 million for the ground.
2 million, it says road, interior paths and lighting. We're using that line right now to pay for the lighting.
Line 24.
Line 24.
Okay, that's what I wondered, because that
Yeah.
was $2 million.
But remember what I said about the lighting?
No.
We don't
no,
know the price yet.
No, I'm saying that it be done, that there be money for it, that it's part of the priorities is what I mean.
It's not part of the priorities.
It's not.
Because it
Okay.
can't be, because you can't fix the paths. Let me tell you something about the paths. If you're gonna do the paths, you gotta rip up all the blacktop. You gotta fix all the curbs, and then you gotta re-blacktop it. Because you want one smooth line, no hills, no valleys, just a thin layer, the right layer.
Right.
Because it's gotta be lower than the curb.
Yeah.
The whole premise of these grounds are that the
Understand that.
path is lower than the curb. So that can't be done until after you finish all the underground stuff that may go from one side of the path to the other when they dig it up. You're gonna patch the
No,
path.
I understand.
Okay.
Because I would prefer not seeing the grounds repaired the way the balconies were done in 2005. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed.
That's all I'm
Agreed.
saying.
As long as I'm here, it won't be done that way. Yes,
Okay, go ahead. Louis, then
There
you-
was just one item I saw here.
Which item, please?
Like the one coming from Yvonne Kozula.
what document are you looking at?
What
Just
are
give
you
me a clue,
looking
Louis.
No, the
Which committee?
no, March 19. It's talking about these trusts.
What?
Yeah, what's this like? Is there like pros and cons against this?
What are you talking, what?
Here from Yvonne Martin Kozula.
Yeah,
What item?
Okay.
What
Okay,
page?
page 7.
7.
Move it that the board requests legal counsel to review house rules, blah, blah, blah. It's whether the apartments may be placed into trusts. I mean, if you,
the trust
pros and
part.
cons, if you
Wait,
have.
I have okay,
Uh-huh.
that's a good point, I'm sorry, Louis, I missed that one. It was a recommendation of the board that I contact council and ask them to prepare for the board information on trusts. There are many different, from what I understand, there are many different types of trusts. As a matter of fact, when I wrote to him, he said to me, are you looking for a particular type of trust? Like, I said, we have no idea what we're looking for. We don't know anything about trusts. Just assume all the trusts are in play, tell us about them, and then tell us how they'll affect the community, and then we'll have an idea of where to go. Trusts are governed by the bylaw, not by the house rules. They are not bylaw, it's not a bylaw problem. So a house rule is changed by the board. So, we can't do anything until we get something back from the attorney, because he hasn't written his letter to us yet. When he writes the letter, then that'll be distributed amongst the board will discuss it. I don't think it's happening this month. I don't think it'll happen. If it happens, it's gonna be after May. God knows what'll be after May. It all depends on what happens.
No, I was just curious if you have like some pros and cons, but not yet because
Not
we're
yet.
waiting
We have
for
nothing
the
yet. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, one more question. Eric.
It's not a question. Having been an attendant at board meetings for longer than I care to remember, I just want to say that you've managed to run the board with efficiency.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
with understanding for the opposition.
Thank
And
you.
I congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can I go home? Can I go home?
Okay, before I go on, I guess we have a couple of new, are you here too? Oh, okay, I have here, we have a couple of new shareholders that I'd like them to present themselves. Please.
My name's Tiana Leonard, and I'm in Building 6 in 14B, and I'm very, very happy to be the one. I agree that once the scaffolding comes down, that's going to make.
Yeah, Building 6 is about, yes, it's,
I'm actually not, I've been here a couple years, it's my first meeting here though.
oh, you've been
Yeah.
before?
So, yeah, I've never been here before, but I've been in the complex now for 3 years.
Good to see you.
Anyway.
Tom Miller, apartment 17A, building 6.
Oh, you're in 6, oh, you got to make the user. Wow. Thank you. Let's see, approval of minutes from March 7th. Okay, those of you that got the minutes for approval to review and so on, I need to thank, first of all, Andrea Brecker. She saw the minute and she said to me, Tova, something is wrong here. I admitted to her that I did not recall the details she was referring to, and unfortunately, I could not afford the time to go through the tape. I had a lot of, personal stuff I can't go into. So she courageously enough listened to the tape, and she sent me this afternoon a text for the, okay, it's right here, a text to change a couple of things. So I'm going to give it to you, those of you that vote first. On one side is what Andrea suggested, change, and I think we should accept it. And the second side is a comment from Sabrina that asked me to change the language of one sentence. So those of you, let me give you that know that they vote. Okay, I'll just give you your name. Kevin Bradley is not here. Andrea?
I have it.
John Mercer? Okay, you need one. I'm sorry, it will take a couple of minutes. Erwin Ranson? Marie Wilson? Lucky Strauss? Could you please move it? Thank you. Who else? Bernie? Diane Cook? Joyce Cook?
Joyce.
Joy Cook. Why do I call you Joyce? If that was Joyce, I will change it. Please, I will change it. Diane.
Go home?
Leila Elder is not here. And Jackson? Eric? Here. And Yo, I saw her. And Linda. And Barbara. Okay? Could you please? Yes. Eric? And Jackson and Barbara. Okay, so if you want quickly to read it for yourself, so we don't need to take too much time. Everybody that votes, I think, got it.
Oh, this is just for people.
The people, well, anybody else can have it now, whatever is left. If anybody is interested. Okay, so basically it had to do with Dwayne Reed and what was said at the meeting. Basically, okay, why don't I just read it? All right, John Buscarella reported that MHHC is talking with commercial real estate brokers and they are optimistic about renting the space. Erwin Ransom asked if they wanted a particular type of business to rent the space to, which John Buscarella replied that they were focusing on they are not focusing on any specific business, but they would not entertain the idea of having a bar in the space. Those of us that have been here for a while remember the bar in 70, right? Mary Wilson requested that the space not be rented to another big restaurant, given the impact of that on many building 5 residents. Okay? Responding to a question by Ulrich Graute, John Buscarella said that they are optimistic about renting the space because market conditions are better now than they were when MHHC was looking to fill the former Blockbuster space, but that some build-out might be necessary to meet the needs of the renter. John Buscarella clarified to Bernie Witt that Wayne Reed lease expired, so we get no rent. He also explained that MHHC was in negotiation with a prospective tenant in advance of the Wayne Reed lease ending, but they failed to reach an agreement. In response to Bernie's Witt's question about renting the former pizza place, John Buscarella said they were speaking to the brokers. You asked it, you said that. about the restaurant.
Well, yes, but no, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, my understanding was that the pizza place is an expansion.
But it was, you're right.
At that point, it was.
Was not in, that's right,
Okay.
that's where the issue came. That's where Andre actually raised
I
the
understand.
question, saying, wait a minute, she does not remember it in the meeting. And now,
Over. Let me just say one thing.
yes,
I am the one who tried to say at the meeting that the doctors were renting it, because I had stopped in the doctor's office and asked them when I saw that there
okay,
was a sign in the
that's what it's
window
coming.
that said that it was being divided into partitions. It was a rumor. On the other hand, I stepped into the office, asked the person there, "Are you moving next
I
door?" And
wish
they
your
said,
name,
yes.
if your name were in there, we would not have a problem.
Yes.
That happened to a secretary
Many-
that doesn't get to know with them.
Many people were talking at once.
Okay,
and-
thank you. All right, now we know where it's coming
That
from.
was the source of, I was the source of what was not a rumor, it was a
Okay.
fact.
All right, so, now, then, okay, then Sabrina read what we wrote, and she requested, if you look at it, that to cross out a line there and to write to a question from Bernie Week as to what the exterminators do. Sabrina Bauman replied that they treat the bed and sofas, dust the outlets, and spray in the cracks and crevices. Okay? Okay. So, if everything is accepted, then I guess I need a motion to accept the minutes as amended, right?
Yes.
I move.
Okay. Everyone write it down? Okay, and Bernie is, seconding it? Okay, so now, everybody that got there is obviously,
Call the question, we vote.
oh, all right?
I can't.
Everybody approved? You can't vote, no, you. Okay, thank you. Anybody against?
I
Okay,
abstain.
thank you. Move, okay. All right, let's see. Now, the next presentation is going to be by Jason Hall. Apparently, the another department to tell you, I'm trying to change the flow of traffic and the bus 60 on 125th Street. Decca has gone to a lot of meetings, she got information, she presented to us as a community relation committee the other day about this plan, and it was really fascinating, so I asked her to present today because it's something that I believe we should all know about, and maybe we want to express an opinion to the elected officials or whichever way we like to do it. So, Decca, go.
Okay, so,
Do you want me to,
I want to pass these
Yeah,
around.
okay.
Everyone take one and pass it on.
Can we start from the other side too?
Yes.
Why don't we?
Well, it's okay, it's not like we can't start without that, but it will go.
But we can, it would go quicker if we go. Yeah, Peter.
Well, I counted the right number, that's all, that I already did. Everybody
That's such a way that I would have a left, we'll get back to you. Thank you. No, I'm going to give it to Barbara to read out. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Thank you. You're the best, thank you.
So I had this set up. There's a 30-slide presentation. It's late. I'm not going to do the 30-slide presentation. Hopefully we can schedule a meeting, a special meeting. So those people who really want to hear about this project can hear about it in depth. So I'm going to give you just a brief summary so that you can still end your meeting at a reasonable hour. So on 125th Street right now, I'm sure as everybody knows, it's completely dysfunctional. You have double parking, right? You have double parking all the time. So you're supposed to have a curbside lane for parking and 2 travel lanes in each direction. one of those travel lanes is always given over to double parking.
Yes.
Right. So this is actually from the MTA, from the Department of Transportation, and from New York City Transit. They started working with the community last September, but they started researching it like at least a year before that. They really studied what's going on. So they really see, okay, the streets that are metered have a certain amount of turnover in the spots and a much, much lesser amount of double parking. The streets that aren't metered have much, much, much less turnover in the spots and have a huge amount of double parking. And so what they want to give us really is a whole, like, and these curbside regulations have been in place, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, and they haven't been revisited. And a lot of them were put in place perhaps when Harlem was more residential and certain sections of 125th Street weren't yet commercial. But they don't make sense anymore. It really doesn't make sense for someone to store their car there all week, and then every delivery has to be done double parking because there's no chance to get a curbside spot. Every person who wants to visit a store, it has to be double parking because there's no chance for curbside. So like I said, so these three agencies have looked at it, and they want to give us a whole package of changes. First, they want to meter in from Morningside Drive over to 2nd Avenue. That's the only length they're looking at. They're not looking all the way over to Broadway and First.
Mm-hmm.
Just Morningside to 2nd. 5 of those blocks are metered.
Morningside Avenue.
Morningside Avenue.
Yeah, you said Drive, okay.
Oh, no, what am I talking about?
That's,
Amsterdam. No, it's
oh,
Amsterdam to 2nd. But they're not looking Broadway to First.
Right.
So it's Amsterdam to 2nd. That's where the bus goes, because on 2nd it goes up onto the bridge.
Yeah.
And it turns down Amsterdam. So of those 11 blocks, 5 of them right in central Harlem are metered. So they want to meter all the ones
east and west.
East of 5th Avenue, and then our block, basically, Amsterdam to Morningside Avenue. And they also want to give us some other really good things. They want to have an expanded sidewalk right at Amsterdam, so that our crossing distance across 125th Street is going to be shortened.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, and they want to do that also at Lexington. So that means you have 10 feet less crossing distance because you're going to have what's called a bulb out in the curb. They want to, some of the bus stops where the buses can't pull in, they want to make the bus stops longer. They want to make nicer bus waiting areas. So also, I'll talk specifically first about the curbside and then about the bus changes. So then they're also going to make some right turning bays during rush hours. So this would mean certain places where motorists want to turn right, they're going to be out of the flow of through traffic. So first, they're going to be able to make their right turns much more safely. There's not going to be pressure from them from behind to make a quick turn. They'll be able to yield to pedestrians. And it will help the through traffic because they'll be out of their way. So those will be during rush hour. Like I said, we'll have the bulb outs to make the crossing distances shorter on Amsterdam and Lexington. And also certain intersections where you can't see around the corner, they're going to remove one parking place that's closest to the corner. And they've spec'd out the few intersections where they need to do that. That increases sight lines. All road users, the pedestrian, the driver, everybody is safer then. So then what they're going to do with the bus is you're going to have, so now basically by creating those right turn bays, oh, and with the metered parking then, the mornings where needed is going to be only for deliveries. So it's going to be like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. metered, in some places metered even till 10 p.m. just in the central core. And so then that's going to basically return that one travel lane that's always been just a double parking lane, and that's going to be a dedicated bus lane. It's going to be pigmented the red color like you've seen on 1st and 2nd Avenues and on 34th Street. So, and then all of the buses, we have four crosstown buses, right? So we have,
15,
but you can see it on the back here. So the EX15, the 100, and the 101, those three are all going to use this express bus lane. Well, it's not dedicated bus lane, but they're going to still make all their stops. But the M60 is going to start stopping only every other avenue, and you're going to have a chance to pay in a kiosk on the sidewalk. That's called off-board fare collection, and then you can board through all the doors of the bus. So, and then that bus skips every other stop. So this is the airport bus that, you know, takes half an hour to go 1 mile. So, right, and then it moves, but you know, you're stuck sometimes more. So this is, you know, so that bus is going to get this treatment where you're going to have the limited stops. Oh, and it's going to also have transit signal priority, meaning if it's approaching a light that's about to turn, it has the power to hold that light until it goes through the intersection. So, I mean, I'm very excited. I feel this is, you know, going to be a huge improvement for our neighborhood. There are some people who are excited, and there's some people who.
How about enforcement?
Well, okay, no, that's good. Question about enforcement. The buses are going to have cameras. Some buses already have cameras, and right now they're rolling out the camera program. These buses take tons of pictures, and then they have a program that sorts through these pictures. So actually, only a fraction of the people ever photographed get a ticket. Like, because it really sorts through and it really identifies who was in that bus lane, not making a turn, not just dropping off someone, but who was really sitting there. And those are the people that get those automatic camera tickets. And so but more and more of these buses are going to have those. So that's going to help with enforcement of the double parking. So I guess I can take questions.
Okay. Bernie, John, Darwin.
Have they did an evaluation that some of the M60s are these big, huge double buses and some are single? Have they found that these double buses tend to block intersections, or has it worked out well for them to use these really long buses?
Yeah, those are called the articulated buses. There's not an issue with the articulated buses. Buses are generally not getting stuck in the intersection and blocking the box. No, I mean, what they are going to study is, do they need to elongate certain bus stops, because they want each bus to be able to fully get out of the bus lane so that the other buses can go by. So they're going to see which bus stops they have to elongate to allow it.
Is the purpose of the double buses to reduce the amount of bus service they have? So, I mean, to pack in more people so they don't have to send so many buses, or?
I think it's just high volume routes where the whole bus gets full.
You want to?
Yeah, as you know, they moved the M60 stop from 100, you know what I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
From 120th and Broadway. It used to be right across from 123rd Street.
Yeah.
And then I raised it at a meeting there. It went to deaf ears. Is there any explanation that you heard?
You know, I asked about that, and that was done previous to this select bus service plan. That I guess that's just done in part of their routine when they look at bus routes and they tweak them. And there didn't seem to be any willingness to revisit that.
Yes, the irony of that is, as we all know, the M60 now, instead of stopping by the school on 123rd and Amsterdam, stops on 125th and Amsterdam, which is, as you know, it's hugely, I'm not blaming you, it's not your fault. I'm just saying it's so crazy. They are aware of that, aren't they? If you know. They don't seem to care.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's where it's diagrammed. I agree with you. I think the thing is that we
They have their reason.
You know, there's a community advisory committee, and I guess they're gonna still have 2 more meetings, and I'd like to go and give feedback, and I can give feedback like that. I mean, I agree, but
No, there's nothing you, my last comment. I and some others have complained to the borough president, to the MGA, and to our local legislators. Nada. Okay.
But I think we don't want to be mad at this bus for taking away 123rd
Yeah.
when we're being offered a huge improvement on a large section of it. But no, I mean, I
Well,
understand.
well-
We'd like both.
Neither one of you can really affect the budget.
But then you can bring it up at the meeting, aren't you?
Yeah,
the missing
yeah,
stuff?
but that seems like that was a. Yes, I can. Sure, I can.
Because it's a disservice to Grant, to Morningside, to 10 buildings around it, you know, all of us.
Yes, Marie.
Just for information, the bus stop is by Columbia and 100, that's the 120th Street, right?
Correct.
That's Broadway and 120th Street.
Correct.
Then it makes the turn, runs down, comes to Amsterdam, and then doesn't stop again on 25th Street. That's a good argument to make.
No, it stops. It stops on Amsterdam.
It stops at
closer to
125th.
125th.
I said, the Amsterdam 125th. There's no stop between Broadway and 120, 120th, right?
Yeah.
And Broadway, and Amsterdam and 125th, there should be one more stop in there.
Okay,
They're
I'm
right.
hearing these issues. The only thing is that what we have a chance to shape right now is Amsterdam to 2nd Avenue is what is really under, but I mean, I can raise that issue, but I'm just saying, you know, okay.
But
So,
you should.
point heard, I heard it, if I, in all my correspondence, I will bring it up.
Marie.
Next.
Just in response to that, the bus originally was intended to speed up and provide a public service to the airport. There is local traffic between 106th and Amsterdam and 125th. It's a wonderful convenience. You shop on Broadway, you get the bus back, it's in front of your building. But the bus is practically empty at that time. It's a convenience for local people, but the more local people who ride the bus, the longer it takes to get to the airport.
Right, I
But
mean, that,
not when you
I
have the
want you to
ticketing
know,
number.
Marie,
well, that is.
Well, anyway, that's another way of
a
looking
good,
at it.
Marie, we were among the first one to use the bus. This bus opened on September 1992. And at that point, it started near Passmark, way back near Lexington Avenue.
Yeah.
So we were taking a bus to get there, to get the bus, okay?
Closer.
Right, and I remember writing to them to please extend it all the way to the west side because that is all the students and so on. They didn't listen to me. Eventually they moved it, probably not because of my letter. I'm sure about that. Okay, now I want you to know that we have been using it for 20 years and it got so bad that my grandchildren were coming unaccompanied, were flying in. When you get unaccompanied children, you pay X number of dollars, the store takes care of them, and then you are given a ticket to go to meet them at the gate. When we were on the way to the airport, I saw a plane land, and I checked with my husband and said, I guess the kids are coming right now down. And I was right. The bus took so long that we then had to run around circles in the airport to figure out where those 2 kids that were like 8 and 9 years old. So clearly the M60 supposed to give you a certain service, but it doesn't.
Okay, so we had a long story, but studies show, I mean, if it were up to me, I would make it a much more limited bus, so that it really is, like when I look at this, I say, okay, stop at St. Nicholas where you have the subway, stop at Lenox where you have the subway, stop at Lexington, but why do we need to stop on 2nd? Why do we need to stop on Madison? You know, but at least with this plan, it's an improvement because they are skipping every other avenue. I mean, I think they could skip even more. Unfortunately, I think there was a lot of local pressure to still make it as close to a local bus as possible. But I think if we can get this plan in, it's a huge improvement, and then down the road, maybe we could make the case to say, look, let's make it even more limited. But I mean, I agree. You know, we have the 3 other buses going across.
Or maybe there's a need for a local bus that provides that kind of west to east service.
No,
as they're not near.
people just use it. Studies just show though, they did, you know, they said who's using it. Actually, the purple shows who's going to the airport. So it, you know, I mean, it would be a big change to gear it more towards that. But I mean, you know, so they're walking a compromise. Ralph?
Just a question there. Who were the purple? Who are the main users? Workers?
No, half of them are just people going across town.
Oh.
Could be on one of the other 3 local buses.
What percentage are workers at the airport? Because I think that...
The airport is only about 10 or 11% of people using the bus. People coming to our neighborhood is 20%, and people going to Queens is about 20%.
Right. And just one other observation. Initially, that bus went from Columbia at 116th, and then it stopped in front of the Red Apple at 120th in Amsterdam. That's a very good stop because that picks up Columbia TC students. You know, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, but I think that was the point of that stop. Maybe it was the supermarket that complained to the MTA.
It's stopping on 120th. It stops on Broadway and 120th just before it makes the turn into 120.
And
Yeah.
also on Amsterdam at 120. They have replaced that stuff.
John?
I have a question about the right turn bays.
Right.
Now, I drive on the street a lot, and I used to when I commuted a lot, and are there going to be separate, is there going to be a separate signal for the bus so that the buses will stop back from this supposed crossover that you're going to go into? Because the car has to go over 3 lanes here to turn right.
Well, you know, it won't be. Well, you mean because you're in the one travel lane, you have to cross the bus lane, and you have to get to what is usually the parking lane.
That's right. You have to go. You have to go 3 lanes over in order to make a right turn. Now, if the buses and the cars are all on the same signal and it's rush hour, how is a driver going to get through all that to get 1 lane further over to the curb to make a right-hand turn?
Don't right lane turners use the bus lane to turn? Like when they're doing
Not now. They are okay.
If I may just elaborate on.
I know. I'm going to answer the question.
Fine.
She said don't right turners use the bus lane.
No.
Yes. Where there is still going to be curbside parking, they will use the bus lane. But in rush hours, on certain key intersections, they're going to eliminate curbside parking for, you know, like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And it's going to be a right turn bay. I'm not all I can say is that very professional traffic engineers are working on this. So and they are using designs that are used all over the city. So I would assume they're not going to use some design that they know doesn't work. So there must be a way that the cars can get over and not be in a huge conflict.
Well, the only way they really could get over is if there were 2 signals there, one for the car lane and one for the bus lane, and the buses were timed so that they would have to stop in order to allow the cars to cross over. That's my question, because if it's just all open, it's not going to work very well.
What?
All right. I think we'll have to have a special meeting. Maybe the Community Relations Committee will put together a special meeting for Morningside for all our shareholders. We'll get somebody from MGCA or someone that is involved to present it in more detail. That was like just giving you a sense of what they have now. Now, one last point. So thank you very much, Detta. Building report, I assume that you want to report about election in Building 3?
I did not, but we did have an election. We all ran unopposed, so it's not much to report, but I've been elected chair of Building 3. Marge over there is one of the delegates.
No,
I'm doing it also as a co-chair, actually. My wife Liz and I are both doing it together for Building 3. And the other two delegates are Linda and
Audrey.
Audrey
And Danny.
So-
And Danny.
Okay.
Danny.
Danny. I'm
I
sorry.
can go now?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you May 2nd.